Give this a try. Anyway, so thanks for all of you for coming. As you know, this is now the third meeting. We have a little bit of a different venue than last year. We don't hear bowling pins, so that's kind of interesting. And who knows, maybe the food will be slightly more diverse than meat. But just an outline of what I was going to talk about is just real brief on the history, why we are here today. Try to provide a bit of a definition of GLATOS, but in some sense that is a definition that emerges over time and probably will continue to adapt as the needs of investigators come forth. A bit of on the purpose of this meeting. Daryl's covered some of that already, and that is all I'm going to talk about. So, if what's this new technology stuff? Try it again. There we go. Okay, origin. So, as you may well know, in 2010 on the U.S. side here, we had $475 million added to the President's budget, and that was for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. We carved a small crumb of that off for us, and that was good. $3 million in 2010, and there was some reductions that came forth in the years that followed, the fiscal years that followed, but $1 million in 2011 and $806,000 in 2012. It certainly looks like this initiative will go forward through at least the end of this administration. As you well know, lots of federal budget stuff in the news these days, but even with some declines, we're kind of queued in for about 800,000. Maybe it'll be a little bit less, minus 5% or minus 10%, but we'll still should be able to have some money to function. And far as beyond 2014, like I said, I think this will continue at least through the end of this president's term. Dollars could well be reduced. I'm kind of thinking it may well not after whatever we get now in 2013, but certainly looking for other sources of funds. Some of those have come forth, such as from the Great Lakes Fishery Trust. We have equipment. It's certainly not yet obsolete, although maybe there's plans for that. I don't know. I see the head shaking. No obsolescence immediate in play, and so some of our projects will be ending, and certainly, for example, like the Sea Lamprey 1 in the St. Mary's River will not be conducted next spring, so receivers are going to become available and available for loan with certain time frames associated with them, obviously, and some of those are already getting redeployed into new projects. So what is GLATOS? Great Lakes Acoustic Telemetry Observation System. So what it stands for. Our mission as follows is to conduct some projects, and this was coming out of the Great Lakes Restoration funding. So the first 4 projects in your agenda, for example, are some of those core projects. No, it got hung up again. There we go. And in conducting this type of work, it became rapidly clear that we're going to have to do things cooperatively, and we're going to have to develop partnerships. And I think the next 5 projects that follow in that agenda are good examples of that. The Hondor Sturgeon project in particular, I think, is one where it's spatially intersects with walleyes, and so especially the detections on the receivers, the tag detections and the sharing of receivers in those projects have been highly coordinated. So that's one good example. Within that cooperation is then ultimately the development of a network of researchers. Obviously, if there's a sturgeon stocked or tagged in Green Bay, that could well end up down in southern Lake Huron, and there could be tag detections on the walleye receivers down there. So those sorts of things getting that network of people together to talk about those issues, and then that comes with some level of data sharing among the projects. Our approach has been to scale up in steps. Initially, we worked pretty hard and with a smaller group to develop core projects that were funded by the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, because it's sort of a technology almost in the Great Lakes Basin as exploding. We wanted to then assist and develop tools for the coordination that would be necessary, regardless of whether they're funded by Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. And GLATOS Web is part of that tool package to make that happen. And as all of that comes into place is then to invite and encourage others to participate as this program matures, and I would say also evolves. So in terms of developing partnerships, some actions we've taken was to do some type of coordination meeting, and that's what we're into right now. GLATOS Web is another type of action, and last year we also, sort of a one-time event, sponsored an AFS symposium. Tom Binder and Chris Holbrook led that initiative. In terms of the network, we do that through meetings and the website and the web. And on that website, there'll be more discussion about that, but of course you can find things like receiver locations and project info and some on the tag returns. Data sharing among the projects would come through that website as well, where there would be a detection database, and hopefully to be able to access basin-wide detections of your fish on others' receivers. Just some summary stats that I thought were kind of interesting that came from Chris and Tom and Todd. 54 million detections so far, 2,300 plus fish that have been tagged and released, about 1,500 different types of receiver deployments. And in terms of manuscripts, this is one that, at least for those 4 projects for which I'm kind of responsible for driving money towards, has really only one manuscript, really, Chris's, on, and that was on anesthesia. So
still counts. It
still counts. Actually, the first summary statistics that was provided by the Ham and Bake crowd put 0 down, but I remembered the one manuscript, and that was now a year or more ago. So those in the room that are involved at least in those projects from Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, get busy. Okay. Purpose of this meeting, give you some progress reports on all the different projects now. We've seen lots of new projects coming on from different sources, not just Great Lakes Restoration Initiative projects, and always interested in any lessons that you've learned in the process of what worked and what didn't work. There's going to be a section tomorrow on database management, thinking carefully about how to organize and store data and what tools might be available for data management. There's also a session on data visualization with a bunch of different software, some highly expensive and some that's actually open source. And then there'll be speed presentations tomorrow afternoon on a variety of topics. I'd like the style, certainly in the meeting, to be conversational, informal, but still staying on time. One of the topics that it would be also cool, and maybe next year we could have on the list, would be data analysis. Like, okay, visualizing is one thing, but how do you do summary statistics or some descriptive statistics would be good, because I'm still scratching my head on that one. And then in terms of products, these are things that we'd certainly like to see be able to come out through this meeting, would be an information transfer, relationship building that sometimes occurs by eating bacon wrapped scallops at the reception tonight. Maybe some new partnerships, some new people you haven't met, might find common interests. And I suspect there might be some side meetings on field plans for the coming season. So thanks, and Daryl offered, not everybody's there. So there's Daryl, and Stephen Riley, and Matt Fowles, Chris Holbrook, Todd Hayden. Oh, here we go. Okay. Binder, Sarah Siegert, Julie Hinder, Mike Hansen, and I put in these folks, Russ Strock, and Kurt Newman even, because they've been navigating through sequestration, USGS travel stuff, and I caused them all sorts of grief. But thanks to the big dogs in the big offices. So thanks. All right. I guess it goes over to Stephen.
That's right.